Hi, morning, Kevin. How are you today?
I'm very well, Chris, and you?
Yeah, good. Thanks for joining us. Look, this has obviously been an incredibly difficult time, and probably kind of venues and exhibition centres are probably the hardest hit in many ways. How are you viewing the recovery process?
Well, I think unfortunately for our sector or our core business, we're going to be one of the last ones or the latest ones to open. That causes the obvious sort of challenges and struggles. But also, there's always a silver lining to everything. It gives us more time to plan, and we can actually be followers on a few people's innovations of what goes well and what goes wrong instead of leading from the front as we normally do. So it's an interesting concept with the home venues, with the exhibitions, the concerts, and the conferences. But we have clearly got our regional portfolio, which has already opened and continues to open, and those sort of regional venues will be open before our home venues.
That's good. It must be very strange for you because after 8 years of almost continued growth, it must be quite strange then facing this kind of scenario, isn't it? When you probably have to consolidate and actually really review where the market's going.
It is, and it's always a challenge. But I think fundamentally, all you got to do is confident. I've sort of been talking to my team about confidence, and we need that confidence. We've started. We started at sort of below 30 million turnover. We're up to mid-50s now. Because we've done it once, we can do it again. It shouldn't faze us or scare us at all. But I think the reality is there will be some consolidation for obvious reasons, and the pain and the difficult decision making that comes with that. But if you look at the other way of looking at the market and the opportunities, again, just looking for that silver linings. Whatever life throws at you, I think there's always a silver lining. Yes, you have to look and search for it harder on certain occasions, but it's always there. And if you look at some of the businesses, they're in distress at the moment, whether that's tired offerings and service, or whether it's over leveraged with debt, etc. And clearly we've got our own agenda, but there's a big opportunity out there for some M&A activity. And it's looking at those businesses in distress, so it suits our agenda and anyone with a growth agenda. But it also saves jobs at the end of the day. And if you're able to bring those two things together in these moments, it's only a win-win.
I mean, it's one of the interesting aspects about you, though, isn't it? Because you love problem solving. It's almost the bigger the problem, you actually almost relish it. How are you finding this problem, this challenge?
Yeah, if I'm honest, without sounding sort of flippant, the guys around me, and my team have just nailed it straight away. I mean, social distancing is just a practical logistics, physical problem, which anyone can really get over. It's that balance of compromise, how that affects your quality, how that affects your service, and how it affects your product, and how far you're willing to go on that compromise. So, we've dismissed the delivered in option. We're not going down that route. We don't see it suitable for us. We think it's slightly oversaturated. Looking at how that commercial model works, we're sort of scratching our head and understanding why. But on the pre-order and the click and collect sort of option, that's exactly what we're looking at. So we're looking at our tech, looking at our teams, because what it won't do is it won't compromise our quality of service and the quality of our product.
How do you think services are going to change? Because it's going to be very different for the customer journey, isn't it?
Yeah, I think sometimes we underestimate our customers and our consumers. The reality is these guys are as clever as we are. In fact, probably cleverer. They'll make their own decisions. They'll decide what's suitable for them, what's not suitable for them. All they need is a bit of information, I think, to help make those informed decisions. So if you look at, I suppose what I'm watching on the media, on that sort of source, on those sort of platforms, is hospitality gets such a bad rap most of the time. For my sort of 30 years in the industry, it's always been considered low pay, unsocial hours, difficult environments. I've never worked in such a great environment or in a great market. So watching, it's virtually, I think it may even be 4 years ago today, we took the referendum to vote to leave the EU. So for 3.5 years, everyone's been bemoaning what that could mean, what it might mean, food inflation, shortage of skilled labour, etc. Now we've got COVID, and I'm watching, everyone bemoaning that. And the reality is, I think our consumers, that they want some you know, as I said, they're probably cleverer than I am. These guys just want a bit of information to make an informed decision, and they'll make them. I just don't think they want to see venues, experiences, you know, turning up and meeting, you know, team members dressed as spacemen or doctors. Yes, they want some reassurance, and yes, they want some levels of comfort. But again, I'm just watching at the scaremongering and what the worst case scenario could be. And I just don't know where people spend their time considering that and, you know, looking at those risk balances, because they never, very rarely do they get to that far extreme.
I think that is right. I mean, it's really interesting, isn't it? We had this dialogue a lot in recent forums, that the overall estimation is 50% of people are very nervous about what's going on and coming back, and 50% just want to get back into things. But it is how we build confidence with people as they come back into our venues, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think, you know, if you've got a venue and you've pasted it all over your website or on your ticket before you arrive, that, you know, you're cleaning more, you've got new regimes, you've got social distancing. Part of me just says that's worrying and off-putting, and I'm questioning how strong those messages need to be to really give the consumer or the visitor the confidence they need. Whereas actually, we were cleaning anyway. We had certain service parameters. We were always looking at shortening queues for our own commercial view. All it is just overlaying those practices with a slightly different data line. And so, yes, there may be 1 metre or 2 metre social distancing rules. We're always a clean environment. You know, every single one of Amadeus's venues is at 5-star rating. We don't have a single venue that's not 5-star. We're incredibly proud of that. You know, yes, we'll put some, you know, hands-free sanitizer. We'll put some socialising, put some social distancing parameters in place. But the reality is, we're a quality operator, and hopefully, people have that confidence previously, and they will do today, and they will do in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right. I mean, I think there's been too defensive a mindset sometimes in the media, which is always talking about the negative. And actually, I think that often customers really do take cleaning and hygiene as a given. So it's more about the experience.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and I'm not, you know, it's only Kevin's opinion I'm sharing at the moment, but, you know, look at the publicity, you know, plastic has had since David Attenborough and the Blue Planet. And clearly that's gone completely out the window now. Everyone's going for pre-packed, sterile food again. And the reality is, you're always going to get these challenges in life. You're always going to get distractions. But I think the key thing is, you just, you know, I'm not a big supporter of the word strategy. You just need a really clear plan. And with that plan, you know, everyone needs a purpose. They need to know their role, how they're contributing to that plan. And then there will always be distractions, as I said, going along the way. But you just got to know your end goal. And as long as you've got clarity on the end goal, you're doing all the normal right things with your team, you know, the consumers will understand it, our visitors will experience it and appreciate it, and our team know the sense of direction.
And this has been a particularly strange journey for you, hasn't it, in terms of lockdown? Because you came back from holiday, went straight into lockdown, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, and I'm not making light of any of the situation, and obviously all the horrific results we've had from the virus and people getting infected, etc. But yeah, I mean, fortunately for me, I mean, it's felt like an extended long weekend. I mean, my children have been at home, my wife's at home. You know, we're enjoying our time together. But the house is unfortunately big enough that we can have a separate room as and when required. We're enjoying the garden. You know, so we're trying to give the kids sort of a PE session, whether it's football, table tennis, basketball, rounders, whatever it is in the garden every day. But we're sitting down, you know, the homeschooling. I'm not sure I'm cut out to be a teacher in any shape or form, and I think my children would verify that. But again, it's that silver lining approach, I think. You know, hopefully we never experience anything like this again. Hopefully we've made the best of it. And I'm looking forward to my grandchildren asking their parents, my children, were you in COVID-19 in 2020 and what was the experience? And hopefully they talk about it positively. Yes, there was the concern. Yes, we're in our own bubble. But the time in that bubble, you know, was thoroughly enjoyable, and hopefully we did the right things.
I mean, that's the hard bit, isn't it? Because it has been enjoyable. It's been a lovely time to reconnect with friends you haven't done for a long time, or reconnect with families. And it has had its real silver linings to it. The hard bit is how do we all get back into the same level of intensity again after?
Yeah, I think there was a real trend before the lockdown of I don't know who's busier than who, and you know it seemed to be very competitive. I'm busier than you are. I did 50 hours last week. I did 55 hours. I'm doing every evening. I've never really been that competitive on that front. I think balance is, and it's an overused cliche, I know, but balance is key to everything you do. So we're not frightened of working hard. Clearly, we do live events late into the evenings, weekends, etc. But we protect and look after and embrace that downtime.
And how do you think?
Go on, sorry.
Now, how do you think you're going to change the leader after this? Because I guess more people are going to be working remotely, aren't they?
Well, I may be accused of being slightly old-fashioned as it happens. I mean, I always thought working from home meant not being as productive as you were in the office. I felt you needed a presence in the office. I felt the discipline of turning up and leaving at a certain time all helped that effective and efficiency. Clearly, spending 3 to 4 months at home myself, experiencing it, as with everything, there's pros and cons. There are days that, as I said, I'm spending an hour in the sunshine at lunchtime with the children, whereas when I was in the office, that hour was, productivity. I never had a break. So it's reminded me that balance is important. We've always protected our downtime. We've always been good at switching off, and whether that's for each other, members of the team, etc. So, we have a very strong discipline about not contacting people, not sending emails. We have a sort of an out of office bounce back. If you're on holiday, you don't come back to 500 emails in your inbox. They just bounce back saying, I am on holiday, please send again on my return. So there's certain things we've got in sort of culturally for the team.
Well done, you're back.
Yeah, that's my battery running low. So I'm going to just... So, one of the benefits of working from home is clearly having your own IT set up and slick. So I've just plugged this back in. So apologies for that. But yeah, so I mean, it's opened my eyes to actually people can be efficient and effective working from home. I still believe you need a presence in the office. I still think people want to see you. I still think people want to approach you. The effort it will take a member of my team to video call me or phone me on my mobile is a lot more than just crossing, bumping into me at an event or on the shop floor, so to speak, where they can feedback. And I think that's really important. So it probably hasn't changed the way I approach, the way I will work, but it's definitely opened my eyes to people within the team and given me reassurance and confidence of how, say, effective and efficient they can be from home.
And do you think you're going to change?
No, I don't think it's going to change me personally. Whether I'm too old to change, I'm not sure. But I still think, as a leader, you need to be leading from the front. For example, we opened a couple of, very proud of working with the NHS, doing a couple of Nightingale hospitals in venues that we have. I thought it would have been really remiss of me sitting at home while those guys are out doing those sort of things in those sort of environments. And so, the team from all levels visited the site, went to meetings, met the clients, etc. And I think we mustn't forget, what that sort of leadership, 101 really is all about. Yes, we've got the technology. Yes, we've got the ability to communicate. That's great. But actually people still want to see people. We're still a social animal. I miss my team. I miss going into the office. I miss those interactions. And it's usually those spur of the moment, unplanned interactions that lead to something. Instead of those formal meetings where everyone sits and goes through their bits and bobs. We can do those, digitally now. We've got the technology. But it's those interactions that you have with every member of the team, on those moments that really sort of I'm missing.
So in terms of your own forecasts about coming out, how long do you think recovery is going to take? Do you have a view on this before you actually see you getting back to 2019 levels?
I think getting back to previous levels, 2019, could well be a 2 to 3 year timescale. I hope it's sooner. I think we'll start to see some recovery within 18 months. Yes, there'll be FY 2021. We'll see things growing. I don't think it'll be back to FY 19 numbers. So I think it's a minimum of 18 months, but could well be 2 to 2.5 years.
And in terms of the business itself, will you then therefore look at going in other directions to get the growth back, or will you just take it one step at a time?
Well, I think as you've touched on, there's going to be some immediate consolidation. We've got to look at what we're doing, how productive it is, and the requirement for it through customer needs, etc. Luckily, we're quite a diverse business. So yes, we're part of we're owned by the NEC Group, owned by Blackstone. We have our home venues. They obviously take a core volume and a core priority from us, but we've also diversified out. We do a lot of annualized events, sporting events. We do a lot of one-off dinners, and also we do a lot of what we do in our home venues and other people's venues, so third-party venues. And as I said, those regional venues have already opened. Whether they're zoos, visitor attractions, heritage, historic houses, etc. They're already open trading. The events, we got our first sporting event, we hope, at the end of August, a golf event. Again, it'll be challenging. It may not have the numbers or maybe any visitors at all, but we'll still be doing the media, the players, etc., feeding. And then hopefully, the home venues come online, as soon as possible, quickly behind those. And we start next year, start the calendar year strong.
I mean, you touched on the Nightingale Hospital, which actually was a very big piece of news, wasn't it? When we go back to March, April. And actually, one thing that struck me about your team, it took great pride in that, didn't it?
I mean, again, it's one of those sort of legacy things, isn't it? I think we'll look back and, as you say, feel rightly proud of what we achieved in such a short period of time. And that's where you get a real sense of belonging in the team. It's not quite band of brothers, but I think a lot of businesses and a lot of leaders can talk about culture and missions, statements and visions, and it's all brilliant when things are going well. Anyone can do that. That the real culture comes through when things aren't going well. Certain things are hitting the fan, you're derailed, you've got certain challenges come left field. That's when you tell a leader and a business's real culture and values. And watching the team pull together, we went from zero to a fully functioning and fully serviced hospital in 8 to 9 days. And the concern at that time and the worry about the environment, what this virus actually was, how it was passed along. I mean, we still don't know the exact details of it today, let alone 3 months ago. But, the Amadeus team went in, rolled their sleeves up, did everything they needed to do. I mean, there's some of the things that came out of it. I mean, we set up a community Facebook page. The culinary team have been doing their cooking videos. I mean, I've even loaded 1 or 2 of those myself, heaven forbid. But it's all about creating good news stories. So it's sharing those recipes, it's sharing those experiences. As I said, the chefs will cook on a weekly basis for vulnerable, homeless people, local charities, and I'll name a couple, but I'm bound to miss some, so apologies. But the Young Star Community Hub in Birmingham, the Real Junk Food Project in Birmingham, Lozells Methodist Church, supporting the homeless. All of the Amadeus guys have all volunteered, whether it's us volunteering stock and product or our facilities, but it's the people involved, and it's really brought us together. And so food donations, senior members of the team to the newest members of the team, everyone mucking together and going through that. And as you say, we've set up and operated 2 Nightingale hospitals, not for profit, obviously. The sites are up and clearly saving waste, but also, we were purchasing product at our favourable rates for these sort of charities. And we've got regional sites, again, utilising their stock, utilising their facilities, producing food and delivering it to local hospitals. But fundamentally, it's the support for each other within our team. One of the real things that, I close to bringing a tear to your eye, but when you wander around the 2 NHS Nightingale operations, the Amadeus team, that their children had got behind the rainbow, got behind the murals, but they were sending in, so virtually every member of the team were bringing in pictures from their children. And basically we just set up an NHS appreciation wall. And watching some of those nurses and doctors come through, stand take a moment and pause and just look at that wall and the warmth and the support and the well-being that those children just delivered via those drawings was just incredible.
I've seen some of those drawings and they are quite inspiring. And it is lovely how actually society and community to come together and how hospitality's played its role.
Yeah, and again, looking at, I suppose, Hospitality UK, how the lobbying and the influencing and the information that, we as a team been sharing there, watching how competitors, and it is business and it is competitive, but how we've all come together to support that one goal. So it's coming across, and it doesn't even have to be in our sector. Clearly I know our sector, I live and breathe it, but you see it across not only the UK, but you see it across the world. And that's one of those great silver linings that, I hope my children come out of this, or when they're telling, when I'm listening to my grandkids talk about the lockdown and COVID-19, hopefully only one of, they're the things that, they're aware of and they appreciate.
Well, I look forward to you teaching me fishing when we get to that point of retirement.
Yeah, well, the fishing season only started last week, so I've managed to get a couple of evenings in. So, I shall bring along some fishing rods, a few beers, and a bag of patience.
I look forward to that, because you're a really keen fisherman, aren't you? It's one of your passions in life.
Yeah, I quite like my fishing. Yeah, it's again, we're talking about that balance. You need to find those things where you can virtually do the opposite of what you do for your sort of career, and I find that just is one of those things for me where, I talk to my team, they'll see me reading the Angling Times or planning a holiday or a break or a weekend or whatever, and most of them are genuinely shocked that I participate in something that is so surprisingly maybe low pace, low activity. But I'd say that's we're all individual, we're all wired differently. Now that does it for me. If I can sit on a bank, lakeside, on a boat, or on a riverside, and say again, that's where I find myself coming up with some of those next challenges, next projects and innovations, because time and space is a commodity. If you're able to bottle it and sell it, then I think you're made. So I think keep trying to find time and keep trying to find space.
That's a good advocate for fishing, I think. A good one to do. We'll leave it on that. Kevin, thank you so much for your time today. It's been much appreciated.
No problem. I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks, Chris. Take care.
Thank you.